Hey, how's it going, class? Welcome to another video. Today we're going to be looking at linear equations review. This is leading up to your final, so this is just as fast as I can get through some information that I think will be really useful to you. First off, when we're looking at this topic, we see that there's really only two things when it comes down to it. We need to solve for y, and we need to graph. Now, based on the amount of time we spent covering this, it feels like it should be this huge monument of a video, that it should be an hour and a half of me going as fast as I can to get the information across. But that's just not the case. Graphing lines is the base of everything in what I would probably call is the analytical mathematics. Everything you've learned before is more of the axiomatic. It is so basic that if we disagree in any step there, everything doesn't work. Nothing we talk about in math matters if we don't agree up to that point. At this point, we still have axioms, we still have that importance that we have to agree. But this is more of, hey, how do you look at life and analyze it? How do you break it down? Why do we care about linear equations? Well, linear equations allow us to look at situations like the number of car accidents over time and see, is there a pattern? Are more and more people dying every year up until, what year is it? I think it's in the 1960s is when seatbelts were introduced. Because we noticed this disturbing pattern that the number of deaths, by and large, was going up very sharply. It was a linear pattern. In fact, it was a scatter plot, which I think I'm just going to do another video talking about. But we noticed this really steep pattern. But what we did is, we saw this pattern, we introduced seatbelts, and we noticed it went right back down. It's plummeted to where now the number of people who die in car accidents compared to the number of car accidents is way lower. But that's why we care about linear equations. It allows us to analyze real life. That is a lot of what Algebra 2 is looking at. Algebra 2 is the analytical mathematics, as I will call it. But let's look at an equation. I'm going to do 3x minus 4y equals 8. So this is what is called standard form. We don't like standard form. Standard form is not fun when you're dealing with a line. And this leads us to the first thing we want to do, the first skill you need to have is solving for y. You should be able to solve for anything. I could tell you to solve for 4. You should be able to do that. You should be able to isolate any given part. But most of the time, isolating a given part is not useful unless it's y. Y is the most useful thing to isolate for. So first thing we want to do is remember PEMDAS. If this is in any way confusing, please come see me. But PEMDAS, we want to do the opposite. We want to get everything with y on one side and everything that is not with a y on the other. So I have addition and subtraction on this side, which means I need to do addition or subtraction to get rid of the thing that doesn't have y. So I'm going to subtract my 3x from both sides. And I should get negative 4y equals negative 3x plus 8. Now my reason for this, the reason I rewrote this, is first off, addition and subtraction, the order doesn't matter. As long as you keep the proper sign with each thing, you could rewrite this as 8 minus 3x. And that is totally okay. If you do that, great. I am just saying, okay, if I write it like this, it puts me really close to this y equals mx plus b form that I really want. And now the only thing standing in the way of that is to divide by that negative 4 to get rid of it. Remember, you have to divide every single term, and a term is anything that has addition or subtraction attached to it. So that splits it here and says divide both of those. So negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, so we get 3/4 x. Positive divided by a negative is negative, so minus 8 divided by 4 is 2. And that's it. That's step A, is just solve for y. That's all we need to do. If you're struggling with that, please come in to see me sooner rather than later. Come in Monday or Tuesday. Don't wait until Friday, because if you wait till Friday, by the time we start getting some help going, we go into a weekend where now you're forgetting everything that you just did. So come in and talk to me sooner rather than later. Let's go ahead and graph this thing. Just get a quick little sketch here. So first thing we need to do is we need to think about, okay, what are the parts? Why do we like this equation, y equals mx plus b? Well, we like it so much because, first off, it tells you a point. It says this is the y-intercept, which means here, I'm going to come to this thing. I'm going to say, okay, it's -2. -2 tells me, okay, I'm going to go on the y-axis here. So we have the y-axis and the x-axis. On the y-axis, we have y positive, y negative. I'm going to go in the negative direction, 2 ticks, 1, 2. I'm going to put a big circle. That's a point. That is one of the things that I know satisfies this equation. This equation is saying, hey, I like numbers that are of this pattern. That it's kind of like some people, maybe you're in your car and you turn the volume up. There are some people who absolutely hate it if it's on something that's not a even number. There are some people who prefer multiples of 5, but if it's an even number, they're okay with it. But if it's an odd number, they hate it. I have friends like that, and I know lots of people who it has to be on certain things. Or maybe you have to turn the dial a certain number of times in order for it to be okay. Or there's certain numbers that you just like listening to the volume at. For me personally, I like doing prime numbers just because I'm weird and I love prime numbers. But that's kind of what we're going for, is there's an equation to describe what I like in life in general, that certain things satisfy it, and the things I don't like are the things that don't satisfy that equation. This equation here is very specific. If you plug in a number, multiply it by 3/4 or multiply it by 75% and subtract 2, that's what it likes. That's it. If you can't get that number over here, it doesn't like it. Equations can be weird sometimes, but good to know about. So now, from here, we're going to go up 3, so 1, 2, 3, and over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because over here, this is our rise over run for our m value, which means our second point is going to be right there. And then all you need to do, you need to graph 2 points and draw a line through them like that, and you're done. That is it. That is graphing a linear equation. Now, if you have questions, come talk to me. See me in my classroom. I am here all the time to answer your questions. There's one additional thing I want to talk about in this video, and that is defining your slopes. So, there are a couple different kinds of slopes. You have a positive slope, a negative slope, a zero slope, and an undefined slope. So first up, and these are just going to be quick little sketches. If you have a positive slope, it is anything that starts low and goes high. So low to high. It usually has an m value. Well, not usually. It always has an m value that is some positive number. So if you have m equals 2, it's a positive slope. Over here, let's take a look at negative slope as well. If it's a negative slope, then it is starting high and going low. So high to low. And we always read left to right, same as a book. And here you have an m value that is a negative number, any negative number. These bottom two are the ones that are weirder, that you just need to remember. You need to memorize them. And I can guarantee you're going to see them on this test. You're going to see them on the next test probably. You're going to see these kinds of things everywhere. A zero slope is flat. Think to yourself, if I were to be walking on this, would it be easy? Because most people, I would say, like, I love hiking. I went hiking this weekend. The people I was with did not enjoy hiking as much as I do because it was steep. It was going up really fast or going down really fast. There was nothing flat. Flat is easy. There's a reason why our classrooms have flat ground. So anything that looks like this. And the way we describe that is, well, it's flat, for one, but also this is an equation that is in the form of y equals a number. It can be positive, it can be negative, it doesn't matter. It's just y equals a number. And that differs from something with an undefined slope. An undefined slope is a wall. You cannot walk on it. These other ones, you can walk on. It might be hard. It could be too steep. It could be just a sheer drop almost. But you could technically walk on it because the ground in front of you is either a little bit higher, a little bit lower, or exactly the same height as you. And this one just kind of defies everything. The ground, if the ground is only the blue, just doesn't exist. It's not there. It's not below you. It is behind you, technically. So that's why we would say it's undefined, because if I asked you to walk on it, you could not. You cannot do the definition of walking. You could slide down it, but that's different. And this is something that is of the form x equals a number. That's kind of it for linear equations. Those are my things that I would say you need to remember this. Take notes on this. Go back, watch the video again if you're confused at all, and work through this stuff. If you have any questions, please, I'll say it one more time, please come in before the end of the week. Come in by Wednesday at the latest and start talking to me, because best case scenario, we figure it out and you're done and you just don't even have to worry. You just have to do some studying over the weekend. Absolute worst case scenario, we have more time at the end of the week and next week to talk about stuff. So I hope you have a great week studying for this final. I hope that it's just easy and it just shows you exactly how much you've learned and that it is not stressful at all for you, and that you get to focus on this as much as you need to, but focus on everything else. Please come in and ask questions. I will talk to you all in the next video.